Kent Adams here, and welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. Today is going to be kind of a fun opportunity. In the studio today is somebody who many of you know in the community because he's a business leader. But beyond that, not only does he own a business, he owns several businesses. But even more important than that is he's got a history of growing up here in Spokane and a story to tell. He's earned his position here in town the hard way by working. We'll be talking with Scott right after this.
At Eastern Washington University, biologists are harnessing gut microbes to build stronger bees. Composers are writing music to help us understand how salmon migrate. And geology joins forces with robotics to explore innovative solutions for climate change. An interdisciplinary education that gets real about the real world, that's the new thing. It isn't a tagline, it's a philosophy wrapped in red and white. It is Eastern Washington and you.
Well, welcome back, and I'm pleased to introduce, if I can say it right. It's the end of the day,
It
okay?
is, yeah.
Scott Wetzel with Windermere.
Yes, sir.
And I mentioned that to you one day, how is business and so forth, and you said, well, Kent, this is only one of several businesses. You've got, most of them, I think, are related to real estate, right?
Yeah, actually now about half
half.
now. So I'm getting, happily so, getting less and less related to it. Not that real estate's bad,
Right.
but just venturing out even to other ventures
Other
as
things?
well. Yeah.
Well, good
yeah.
for you. That's fun. Are you having fun?
I literally wake up every morning and I cannot wait to get at it. I don't know if I've actually worked a day.
Yes.
Actually worked in 18 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Because to me it's just not work. It's a passion.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just think, my wife asked me when I retired about 6-7 years ago, because I'm 75 and a half.
look
When you reach
amazing.
the 75,
You gonna start doing half
years. Yeah.
How old's your son? 2.5.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
exactly.
he's
You
two.
get it.
He's
You
two.
get it.
Yeah.
Well, she asked me two questions. One is, have you enjoyed your work? And I said, I never really saw it as work.
Yeah.
Okay. I always had fun. And when I wasn't, I fired them and moved on.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she said, but you used to do a lot of photography. I actually, in high school, wanted to be a professional photographer.
I didn't know
and,
that.
And it was down in Southern California, and a professional photographer was working with us in our yearbook, and I got to know him quite well. And it was like, well, when you graduate and stuff, and so on and so forth. And he would shoot top CEOs down there,
Yeah.
and the stars.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
so he had a good business. In fact, he still has he doesn't own the business anymore, but he sold it. But that's what I wanted to do. And so my wife said, I know you love photography and so forth, but you really don't have a hobby anymore. And I said, well, it's the same answer to the first question. I've enjoyed what I've done.
Yeah.
And how many of us get to say that?
Yeah.
Because we
Unfortunately,
all
very
know
few.
people who are stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me now, you're successful in Windermere. You're successful in the other businesses. Obviously, you're having fun.
Having a blast.
We've established that. But you worked up to get there the hard way with a situation going on. In fact, you grew up in where I live, in the Wilson School District,
Absolutely.
Neighborhood,
Yep.
and all that, which is right middle class and
Yep.
and all of that. But you mentioned to me one day, Kent, I was as poor as you could be.
Yeah. I like to call it. So I had one defining moment in my life that
Okay.
I don't even know if I realized then, and I do now when I look back, is that there was a period of time in my 6th grade year at Wilson. My parents had separated, and so we went on assistance,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
And one of those ways of assistance was free lunches.
Yes.
And so we qualified for the free lunches.
Sure.
Now, back then, there was no such thing as politically correct.
Right.
And so they used to hand out lunch tickets like the raffle tickets.
Yes.
And everybody had a red raffle ticket, and you got so many of those during the month, and you just gave them to the lunch lady, and
Right.
you got your lunch. Well, I also had raffle tickets, but my raffle tickets were blue in color, light blue.
Okay.
And so it was how they kept them separate. Now,
Yes.
today, the ACLU would lose their mind if
Right,
that
right,
happened,
right.
and understandably so.
And a lot of feeding of young kids and
Yeah,
students
no
goes
question,
on at school
no question.
today.
Yeah, no question, and it's worthwhile. And my wife and I are involved in a lot of those programs that feed the underfed. But at that time, you didn't realize what it could have done psychologically to a child.
No.
To have a different lunch ticket.
Right.
So anyway, the good news was I was in sixth grade, and so we kind of ran the school. But all my buddies were, elbowing me and chiding me and would give me a bunch of crap.
Yes.
A lot of times because I had a blue lunch ticket.
Yes.
And I just remember the summer between that sixth grade year and going into seventh grade where I went to Sacagawea.
Yes.
And I just remember having this feeling like, I'm never going to have a blue lunch ticket again. I'm just never going to go there. And it doesn't cast any disparity upon those that need
Right.
assistance and help.
Right. Right.
Because I fully believe, it's like help the helpless.
Yes.
Kind of maybe screw the clueless, but help the helpless.
Right.
Because you have to work for everything. And yes, nothing comes easy and people need breaks, but nothing replaces hard work. And so
true.
one of the things that I just kind of had this passion about internally was never having a blue lunch ticket again. So as that progressed and even into my first job, my very first job ever was at Taco Time
Okay.
up on South Grand.
Yes.
Where there's actually a Mexican restaurant still there, I think. It's
Yes.
across from what used to be Baskin Robbins.
Yep.
And I, through a very short period of time, was made the youngest supervisor in the organization's history. I was 16 and a supervisor.
Wow.
And then I went on to do that same type of work in food and beverage. And I worked remember In at the Park?
Yes.
I
Yes.
bussed tables and very quickly worked my way up to being what would be a maitre d'. And I was the youngest sommelier at the time. I learned about wine at 18. I wasn't even old enough to serve it, or drink it. They had an exemption that if you served, you could serve at 18.
Yeah.
And so, but I was the youngest one from there. And then I went on to Nordstrom.
Okay.
Which is really where I think I got my real business start of acumen for business.
Okay.
And I, at the time, was promoted after a while and moved to Bellevue, and I was
Okay.
the youngest manager of the men's suit department in the history of the company. And that's not to say, like, I'm so special and look at me. I think what it was more was
The drive.
the drive and a testament to not just me. And again, just working hard isn't the only elixir. You need breaks. You need
A mentor
opportunities.
maybe too.
Yeah, I had a ton of them growing
Yes.
up. And so, but along with that, you can have all those things, and if you don't work hard, it's moot.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how I started. And born and raised in Spokane, and came back at the right time, and have never looked back.
I love it. I love the story. I grew up in an area like the South Hill in Southern California, and frankly was handed a lot of things, but not like one fellow I met when I went with one of my best friends, and we went to his house, and it was a stately place, probably been used in movies and things like that. And I remember asking him, well, what do you intend to do? And the answer was, in another year and a half, I turned 18 or 21 or whatever it was then, and I inherit $5 million.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, Dad, can I borrow $500?
I was gonna say, hey, how about $5 for the movie?
Yeah, exactly. and so, there's always somebody doing better,
Right.
and certainly always somebody doing worse. And I think part of it is, I know you've got the same thing that I have, and that is, we need to mentor and help people, okay, when they want it and when they realize that's important.
Yeah, I believe my wife and I, my wife Tracy, who's really my rock, and
Yes.
we've been married 31 plus years, and as long as she'll keep having me, it'll be forever. I like to say every once in a
I
while.
don't hear the phone ringing.
Well, every once in a while she'll introduce me as in, I'd like to introduce you to my first husband.
Yeah.
I just let it roll
It
off.
just
my back.
keeps you in
Yeah,
line,
whatever. But we believe that God has put us in a position to help others in our servant-based leadership,
Yes.
the way we go about running all of our companies.
Yes.
Part of that servant-based is to help others be successful.
Yes.
And I like to say, and I tell all of my managers, all of my employees, whomever it is, that I have two addictions. My first addiction is to the game.
Yeah.
I love the game. Whatever that game is, I just love getting involved. And I joke, I said actually it's really 5 addictions. It's bourbon, wine, my wife, and then But the two business drivers would be, I'm addicted to the game, and I'm addicted to your success.
Yes.
Whoever you are. It's
Yes.
because I just believe that if I can be focused on helping others succeed, then that just by accident almost, I succeed.
Yeah.
Right?
I had an intern who didn't want to do hosting. This was over a year ago, who I talked into doing hosting, but she said, "Would you be my guinea pig on a trial basis?"
Yeah.
So I sat down and she said, "I know you don't get paid. You know, you don't take any money from the company, at least right yet. You know, it's still true to today." And she said, "But what's in it for you?" And it was basically the same kind of answer in that, because you will go on to something and I'll hear from you later in life that you appreciated getting that experience. We've got one fellow who's down at the University of Arizona in their sports program who's going to be on ESPN one of these days.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Connor that you met a little earlier here, who starts in a week at KHQ.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be traveling and going places, and I want him to have the broadcast experience, even though the future is in podcasting.
Yeah.
We know that. But Rob Harris, who was at Creme for a while, he was in Louisville, and he's back home now in his hometown in Colorado. And to me, that's my pay.
You know what it is, Ken? It's it's guised certain different ways, but it's leadership.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think if you take a look at a great child, and they more than likely have great parents.
Yes.
I know I had an amazing parents. My dad has passed away, and even after they divorced, he stayed involved. But my mom was just a rock. We never felt poor.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We knew we didn't have everything. We weren't like
Right.
that friend of yours. It was like getting $5 million at the age
Yeah.
of 21. But we never felt poor. There's a difference there.
Yes.
But yet she always impressed the work ethic.
Yes.
And so you have great kids, you look at it, they probably have great parents. You have great students, you probably have great teachers.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
great athletes or players, they probably have good coaches or great coaches. And then as far as employees go, and your real estate agents, if you have great of those individuals, it's probably great ownership and leadership that's giving them that, because they want them to thrive and succeed as well.
Right. What thrills you the most, just in the last couple of weeks in terms of real estate? Anyone make a sale that was tough? Or
Well, right, it's funny because we all kind of got fat, dumb, and happy over the last 2 years of
and
COVID.
everybody wanted to be a realtor.
Well, yeah, and the interesting thing is with COVID, we actually were one of the few industries, us and Amazon,
Yeah.
that just had, unbelievable success, because we had so many people moving from bigger markets into smaller markets to get away from the population.
Right.
We had the cost of living. We had more and more companies that are going remote and working from home. In fact,
Right.
my sister-in-law just got a brand new job as a VP of corporate events and marketing. She is the headquartered the company's in Minneapolis.
Yes.
And she works from home in the Perry district.
Yeah.
And so you had all of those factors take place, and then largely driven by the economy being less expensive, right,
Yes.
to live here.
Right.
All of those things were like the perfect storm. So for the last 2 years, it's been great. Now it's correcting back to a more reasonable, normal market. We
Right.
had this discussion. It's like a little more seasonal. And then you throw on top of that the scarcity of product.
Yes.
I won't make any analogies, but the scarcity of product, like maybe on our grocery shelves, is kind of that way in our inventory for homes.
Yes.
And
Or
because,
gasoline.
yeah, gasoline
yeah,
prices,
yeah.
it would be like that scenario. But again, we digress or sidegress. But the point of all of that is we're starting to see it soften a little bit in a good way. That's not a bad thing.
Okay.
And it's going to, what I believe takes place, it separates, the cream from the milk.
Yes.
So those of us, like for instance at Windermere, we always say we're the Nordstrom and Starbucks of real estate.
Okay.
And so we apply that type of service to our clients.
Right.
We'll be the ones that stand the test of time. We'll be the ones that keep the number one market share.
Kind of the flash in the pan. I'm in and
Yeah,
take advantage of it.
the smaller entities, the shiny objects, I like to call them, they're going to go away just through attrition.
Right.
We see it cyclically happen anyway, and I've been doing this with Windermere for now. I'm in my 19th year.
Oh, wow.
So I've seen a couple of cycles already.
You are old.
I am. You look at me and you'd swear he was 12. When I'm really 72. I'm only, but no, I think, so the market's been great. It's going to continue to do great for those that are servant-based
Yes.
and building their connection points, it'll be fine for them.
And you can even see that on Facebook with some of
Yeah.
the postings from folks who are, I'm in real estate now and all this and that, and they're
Yeah.
putting out, in some ways, what I call junk information, what we already know or don't know.
Yeah, a couple years ago, you could swing a rope and hit 10 people that wanted to buy or sell real estate because it just, that was the environment, that was the market. Not so much anymore. You swing that same rope and you maybe hit one or two.
Yeah.
And then of those one or two, you still have to find them product to sell that or buy for them. So it's okay. It's in the weirdest of ways, I kind of prayed for a bit of a correction.
Yeah, and as you said, it happens every few years anyway. The market up and down, maybe not as volatile as we've seen it now in the last couple of years, and part of that is our elected folks who put certain requirements on, like condos and whether you can have gas or only electricity and some things like that raise the costs.
Well, we should just all go to electric cars and wait. Oh, that's right. They need gas generators to generate the electricity.
I took a ride
about that.
with someone from Wendell, and I wanted to go in a Mustang because I love Mustangs.
Yeah.
I used to have a couple of 65 Mustangs, and so we get in the car and everything else. And he said, "Now it's ready. You put it in gear and you step on the gas." And I looked at him like, like. Yeah, I know what I said, but we all say it,
Exactly.
Well, he's not going to teach a 75-year-old that you don't call it.
You don't put it in gear and step on the electricity.
Yeah.
You still step on the gas.
Yeah.
And all of those things. I think what I'm prayerful for is we're going to start seeing more and more of an environment, not just geopolitically, but just in general with our local markets, things swinging back maybe to a little bit more of a
little more common sense,
a little more centrist, or I like to call it a pragmatic world.
Yeah.
We've kind of lost a lot of pragmatism as of late. I've seen, and I guess whether I like it or not, one of the benefits of being older, I joke, is like I love that farmer's insurance commercial. It's like, right, so we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Yes.
And I guess now at 55, almost 56, I can say,
"Oh, you're just a child."
Well, I guess in the grand scheme of things, sure, right.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed now to be able to say I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two.
Yeah.
And to watch a lot of these things taking place, it will pendulum back to being a more pragmatic scenario. And that's for all things, the economy as well as the political
I think you're right.
environment.
Now, you've got 3 boys,
I do.
and all of them are very successful.
They are. They have all their mother to thank for that. Nothing of their pops.
I set you up for that right
You totally
now. I'm
did,
kidding.
yeah.
Tell me about them.
Yeah, outside of marrying my wife,
Yes.
The 3 greatest days of my life were the birth of each of those 3.
Yeah.
And
Have you had grandchildren yet?
Nope, not yet. I'm not that old.
That will replace the greatest days.
Day. Well,
Okay, it will.
I look forward to it, just not right yet.
Yeah.
But we were just blessed. My wife decided, I say we decided, but large part Tracy decided. She was headed off to law school. She was a paralegal in a very large Weyerhaeuser subsidiary in Seattle, and she was headed to law school at the University of Washington, and we got pregnant with Andy.
Okay.
Actually, she got pregnant. I was just there for the fun part.
Yeah.
We made the decision collectively, but really she was the strongest in the decision that she wasn't going to go to law school and go back to work, because work was willing to pay for her law school, because she felt at the time, and we never have looked back, that the next, air quotes, 10 years were the most important years of the life. So let's just have kids. And she decided to have the hardest job in the world, which is a stay-at-home mom.
No kidding.
So we took that route, and it's been amazing. Our 3 boys, we just knock on wood and we thank the good Lord. We have our oldest son, Andy, is now.
But he turned out to be the attorney.
He's the attorney.
Yeah.
He played high school football, quarterback, and he played in college. And then he took that athletic kind of drive and focused in on law school.
Yes.
And so he's now an attorney here in town with a
He's
local
been doing a good
firm.
job of training Ryan.
Yes. Yeah. It's awesome to see that cultivation of that relationship between the two of them, for Ryan McNeese going from being a mentor, and when Andy was just an legal intern, to now and he's one of the top billing attorneys in the
Yes.
firm, and they work cases together.
Yes.
And just love the McNeese Wheeler family.
I
Ryan
think
and
that's
Becky
great.
are
Good
awesome.
people. Good people.
Yeah, so he's doing that, and then
Okay.
our middle son kind of took the same route. He did sports, all varsity sports and
Okay.
football and basketball, excuse me, and then he headed off to Whitworth and play. Go Bucks, Connor, right? Go Bucks. He headed off to Whitworth and played football at Whitworth.
Okay.
And then went into the business department. Was awarded the George Weber Achievement Award, which is the highest
Quite
ranking
an
business
achievement.
student. Yeah, and then went into the business world, and he started at Gallagher, and he's now since moved out of the insurance business, and he's now a vice president and commercial banker at Umpqua
Okay.
Bank, and he's thriving and doing great. He bought his first house earlier this summer.
Fun.
And then our youngest, which really is our genius, we joke, and all the two older boys would deny it. He was not our athlete. He
Okay.
didn't want, but he used his scholastics to be his athleticism.
Okay.
And so he finished high school in 2 years. And then
Show off.
continued
Yeah.
and so he was valedictorian, and then continued on to got his AA, and then he got 2 degrees, 2 pre-med type degrees at WSU.
Oh my gosh.
In 3 years total for 2, and now he's just biding his time to go into PA school. So he's going to go be a PA. So like I was saying earlier, it's like hopefully we'll have things, my wife and I will have things set. We'll have an attorney to keep us out of legal trouble.
Yeah.
And we'll have a businessman to keep us in our business, and we'll have a doctor to cure all of our ails.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And they
we'll
start
see.
coming as you get into your 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
I can assure you.
They're already here.
Yeah.
But no, but I'll tell you again, it goes back to, and I used to think, I used to be kind of predisposed to thinking, well, it's a 2-parent family, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that any longer, and I haven't for quite a while, and because I almost didn't give enough credit to the single parent family, the
Yes.
single parent child.
Yes.
What the difference is the involvement
Yes.
with the parent or parents
Right.
and that child.
Isn't that
If
the
they are
truth?
super involved, whether it's mom and dad or mom or mom and mom or
Right,
dad
right.
and dad, whatever, they have to be involved.
Yeah.
And we were very involved. My wife, Tracy, used to tell them all the time, guys, the extra mile is never crowded. The extra mile is never crowded.
That's
and
nice.
it burned into their brain. And when they would come home from school, even in primary school, they would come in and immediately sit down and jump in front of the TV. She'd walk right in, turn the TV off, saying, get up to the kitchen table, do your homework, here's a snack, get all your homework done, and once you've shown me your homework is done, you can go watch TV before dinner.
And they're going to do it with their kids.
And I'll tell you the funny.
they will, won't
you
they?
fast forward now. Small, quick little story. Matt, our middle son, is in his freshman year of football at Whitworth. He calls my wife Tracy, and he said, "Mom, you're never going to believe this." He was laughing. I got invited to go out with some of the older football players to go see a movie tonight, and they wanted to go get pizza first. And he said, I literally said to them without even thinking, "I've got to get my homework done first, and then I can go out and have fun. So I'll just meet you at the movie theater." And after he hung up his phone, he said he just stopped and went,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's like the ghost of mom." And he goes, "You were channeling through me."
Yeah.
And he was giving her an accolade, like, "Thank you for
Yes.
doing that, because now it's a part of my psyche."
Yeah, our kids, we've got 4. One still lives with us.
Yeah.
He's 52. He's a Down syndrome.
Yeah.
So that's been an experience over the 50-some years
yeah.
because when we brought him home from the hospital, you didn't bring home Down syndrome's kids and so forth. It was our choice was which institution to
Right.
put him in.
That's
how it was.
You cast them off.
Yeah,
Right.
But and we were very glad we did, and as I said, he still lives with us. But the other kids have often said, it was nice to come home, Mom, and have you there, and have the cookies,
Mm-hmm.
and have the get your homework done before Dad gets home, and
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It really does, and it's harder for the single parent
Totally.
to do. It really is.
And that's kind of was my point is the coming home. You're gonna have kids that come home and don't have a parent to come home to at that time right after school. But that said, the parent can make up that lack of physical involvement by checking in. What are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you
Well,
going to be?
then there are sports, and there's Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts,
Brownies and all those things.
Big Brothers, Big Sisters. I did that for a while to help some kids and so forth. There are opportunities out there.
Yeah.
And I think as you were talking about righting the ship a little bit, I think people are starting to realize that maybe we need to not just give dollars, we need to give some time back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to a school once a week and sitting and talking to a student at lunch or whatever it might be.
Invest your time, coach. That's another thing I did. I coached for a decade, the boys, all through football. And it's just the joy I get now from some of my, I keep in touch with most all of my players when Andy's group were in 5th grade and now they're all 28.
Yeah.
And they'll talk to me on Facebook. They'll send me text messages. I'll run into them. I'm still coach to them. They still get a hug because they're all just like a ton of my sons.
Yeah.
And that is a way to stay involved. And you can do that even if you don't have any kids.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like you can be involved in
What
that.
a great opportunity for those who have, quote, retired and are looking for something to do. They have such a history and the knowledge and all of that, too.
And I'll tell you a fun thing. There's times with 2 of my 3 boys where we circled back and helped out coaching at the high school level or the junior high level, and I'm coaching with them.
Yes.
So my middle son was coaching defensive backs one season, and I was coaching defense, and we're coaching together. And I remember looking down the sideline once and just like, this was surreal.
Yeah.
And here I'm used to Matt being out in his helmet on the field,
Yeah.
and I'm looking down and he's wearing a coaching hat and he's coaching.
Yeah.
And those are the things those memories you can't replace.
No.
And you'll have them whether they're your sons or daughters or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's what's really driven my passion for business.
Yeah.
And growing companies and growing people.
Just think of all the people that you've impacted beyond your family and so forth, but in the business community that are now successful or getting successful because of where you are and who you are and that.
I can tell a lot of people about a lot of things not to do.
Yeah,
Put it that
can't
way.
we all?
Yeah.
This could be a
Don't
two-hour
do this,
two-hour
this, and this,
podcast
'cause,
if we got into that.
This
but-
won't work. How do you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Because I tried them. Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, thank you. Thank you for
pleasure.
what you do for this community.
You bet. I
And
love it.
all the people you have, you've got professionals out there. I see them on the Facebook and everything else. And congratulations on 3 fine young men that you and Tracy have produced for the community.
Andy, Matt, and Tyler.
Yeah.
Love them. They're just,
good
everything.
for you.
Thank you.
That's so good. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Have a good day, everybody. Welcome to the Pulse of Spokane.